Lost you. There you go. Okay.
First of all, thank you so much for doing this. And I have my questions already. So I'm going to do some video component, but also an article.
Okay.
Okay, so you have had this incredible career as a singer-songwriter and a yoga instructor and a mom. And I want to ask you, how do these different aspects of your life influence your music and your performances?
Well, I mean, I think I take every little element of myself and put it into, if I'm writing a song, I am
Mhm.
a very autobiographical writer at times. I do like to tell my personal experience. It's just what comes out of me. And then on stage, same thing. I mean, if I'm singing a song, I'm relating to that song. I'm a very lyrical person, I think, because I'm a songwriter. So sometimes I'll say, this song isn't a good fit just because I don't necessarily like the message or the vibe, or it's just not where I'm at is, and I wanna be able to really feel it because I feel like when I feel and I connect to a song, that the audience also responds similarly and they can tell that I'm connecting instead of just kind of phoning it in. So um,
Absolutely. You are so much fun to watch on stage. I have had the joy and privilege of getting to see you perform so many times now. And every time I see you up there, you're doing something fantastic and fun, and really transcends to the audience. And I absolutely love how you introduce new music pretty continuously, which is rare.
I get bored easily. Honestly, as an artist, I mean, I think a lot of people who do cover songs, for example, don't
Mhm.
necessarily have an original component to them. They might be really great guitarists or singers,
Right.
but they don't necessarily have that writing component. And for me, because I have that original component, for me to just and I kind of think it was a blessing as a curse too, because if I ever did have a song that was like a super mega hit, like I always hear like they're miserable, they have to do that song every time they're on tour, every time
Right.
they get stuck in that, and you try to like find creative ways to do the same thing or have to do different things. So if it's cover songs, for example, yes, I have to constantly be introducing new material, or a lot of people get inspired by things and they might do it with their band. Then I'm like, all right, well, we got to do something else now. Now they're doing that, let's carve a new path and just keep it fresh, keep it fun, and not get bored and not stifled as an artist.
Love that. Can you share the story of how you first discovered your passion for music and what actually inspired you to pursue it professionally?
I was singing, I guess, before I was talking, or maybe learning language at the same time. And I always just had that musical component in me. My grandmother was a organist in church, piano player. So she kind of taught me piano from a young age, which I was interested in, but not at that level of wanting to learn classical pieces and the
Right.
technique. And I was a child, so I rebelled and I kind of hated it, but I absorbed enough of it over the years where even though I did eventually quit,
Mhm.
when I was a teenager, I would, have a lot of angst inside me and I started writing poetry, and I would hear not just the lyrics, I would hear them in a melodic tone. I would hear they're like this, it's a kind of like it's a song, it's not a poem. And I remembered my piano, and so I would go back and just put basic chords and whatever I remembered from it behind the words that I was speaking, and found this kind of songwriting flow that I got into, and became kind of a saving grace for me dealing with being a teenager and growing up. And it stuck with me. I was in musical theater and all the plays in school. And then I decided to go off and study it in college for a bit, and kind of realized that I didn't want to have to do it. Anytime I've been forced to do music, uh,
Right.
there's just a piece of me that rebels against it. I was very good at school. I was a straight A student, but here, like, I'm just longing to go off and pursue my dreams of being a musician. And I'm told, that's not practical, and you have to get good grades, and you have to this and that. So I've always tried to balance this kind of thing within me. And I didn't want to have to do it to make money. And so I did pursue kind of more stable
Mm.
marketing management degrees and very business oriented things for that right brain side of me. But at the same time, as I was in like my master's program, for example, I was in a studio in Miami recording my debut album at the time.
Wow.
So I would go like to school during the day and then come home at night and write and record and be around musical people. And it just felt so much more like me versus the Lindsay that
Mhm.
would go to school in the morning and do the business thing. But at that time, I was already like, X amount of dollars in the hole. And yeah, it's just something that's always been pulling at me and tugging at me. And when I, got in a position in my life where I felt that I could uh, bring some new life into cover
Mhm.
music and just people who were doing that cover band scene. Totally separate story, but there was a personal component for why I, in my early 20s, couldn't really get out and express myself as much as I wanted to. So when I was finally released from that situation and able to pursue whatever I wanted to do musically, if it was playing at some dive bar, if it was recording a new song, if it was doing other people's music, whatever it was, I was free to kind of make all those decisions for myself. And at that moment, I kind of like just dove in head first, and I just said yes to every opportunity. And you realize quickly, like, all right, I don't vibe with this person, I don't vibe with this band, that's not really where I want to go, and carve your path. So you find, like, right now I feel super blessed because I love everyone I'm working with, and I feel like I have a lot of different avenues for my expression as an artist.
I love that so much. And I wanted to ask you about the bands that you're working with. I know about Mixtape, and then you've got True Rumors.
Yes, yes. So yeah, so Mixtape, we do that 80s stuff that you know very well, and then True Rumors actually fell into my lap coincidentally because of a venue that we played at, and the sound person has seen me many times with Mixtape and knew my capabilities, and at the same time, he had this Stevie Nicks Fleetwood Mac tribute band that was showing up, and it wasn't really vibing. The head of that band wanted to replace his Stevie at the time. And coincidentally, the sound guy happened to mention to him at that exact moment, the thoughts like coming into his head. He's like, hey, would you be willing to, like, pursue a different Stevie? I know this girl who I think would be great. And he's like, that's funny. You should say that. I was just thinking I needed to find a new one and start these auditions. But if you have someone, I'd be more than willing to, I've seen Stevie live. Yes, yes. A long, probably like 10 years ago at this point. But yes, I have.
Wow. Is there anybody that you would just love to work with at this point? This is Patrick, by the way.
Hi, Patrick. I
He's
like your
making
hat.
a little
Are you
cameo.
police? Are you here to arrest your mom? Like, what's going on here?
He's the patrol. Yes. He's like, I really want to be home with you. So you actually play a lot of festivals, which is fabulous. I know you did the Strawberry Festival. What do you enjoy most about performing at festivals?
I'm a big foodie, honestly. So I like the food trucks. I like getting to walk
Yes.
around before, after, and breaks, and try out the new vendors and see what's going on there. But also the energy of festivals is just a little different because you're
Mhm.
getting a lot of people that are not there to see your band, for example. I mean, there
Right.
will be a few that are there to see you, but for the most part, they're there to go on the carnival rides or be at the
Mhm.
food trucks or just an outdoor thing to do with the kids or whatever reason. A good chunk of those people have never seen you live before, and for me there's a different energy for that. It does help when you're doing especially the same songs over and over again. It helps to have at least a new fresh audience because they haven't necessarily seen your certain stage moves or they don't know certain things, and it just brings a fresh newness to it that it's an energy thing that really I
Yeah.
thrive off. Yeah.
And you do so many cool stage moves and tricks and flips. Do you stretch before you go out there? What are your pre-show rituals?
I'm kind of always stretching. I am a yoga teacher on the side
Uh,
as well. And yes, if I go more than 24 hours without a big stretching, moving my body, even if it's just like a 5 minute practice or a
yeah.
5 minute stretch or something, my body feels it. My body tells me. I kind of am one of those people that can't really sit still. Not that I'm
Mhm.
given that many opportunities as a mom to sit still, but I need to constantly be moving. Even if I'm in a chair, I'm stretching. If I'm on a plane, I'm always kind of just moving
I
my
love that.
body and listening to what it's speaking to me. So yeah, I definitely I would say I'm kind of always warmed up, if that makes sense. I don't know
Yeah.
if I had like a 9 a.m. gig. I don't know how those back bends would go. I'd probably have to do a little extra warm up at that time. But by the end of the day, I'm usually pretty warmed up enough to flow on stage.
Um, how do you decide what songs you're going to cover?
So initially, I would say in the first formations of me joining the cover music scene, for example, it was kind of, what do you know? What do I know? What can we bring to the stage the quickest? Which you learn very quickly is not obviously the ideal way to do it. But a lot of people are very antsy to kind of get out and just do shows. And so when you're forming a new situation, you don't want to be rehearsing for like 9 months and dragging it out, and no one's making money when you're rehearsing. You're paying out money to rehearse. So people really want to get out there quickly. And then it becomes a matter of like, you don't really necessarily want to be doing those songs. You just knew those songs and they knew those songs. There might not be the songs that showcase your best efforts or that you enjoy the most. So then you start to tailor it and say, all right, we're going to swap out, 3 or 4 songs. For me, I'm not like an iPad person on stage. So just mainly because I suck at technology. So I try to memorize all my lyrics. So I need a good chunk of time, especially with kids in the car, not letting me listen to music, to learn those songs lyrically. So I will take like 3 or 4 and we'll say, okay, top priority. We got to get rid of, X, Y, and Z. I can't hear that song again. I'm sick of it. I don't want to play it live. Even if someone requests it, I'll do it. But so we kind of carve out that space with the band, and we kind of keep it very diplomatic, democratic, so to speak. So what do you want out? What do you want out? All right, what can we throw in there and generate ideas? And then for me, it's whatever. I hear a song if I'm playing a gig at a bar and they're kind of have the jukebox on in between, and I'll hear that song. Oh, I totally forgot about that song. That's a great one. Why don't we do that? And you can kind of see like everyone's face lights up in a certain way. For me, that's what pulls me to the song. If you hear that first opening riff and you're like, oh, I love this song, I want to get on the dance floor. When it does that to me energetically, that's a song that I want to bring to the stage because I know I can bring something to it. So that's my criteria. I'm sure, everyone else kind of has their own, but yeah.
Love it. It's so fun. And I am obsessed with when you do Material Girl and Flashdance. Those are two like of my favorites of the night. And let's see, I guess who are your musical influences and what music did you listen to growing up?
Well, you mentioned Material Girl. So yeah, I mean, as a young girl, growing up in the 80s, I mean, Madonna was, I watched everything of her on MTV, on all of it. I probably just naturally know all the lyrics to every Madonna song ever, with ever not even having to learn them. So uh yeah, she was a huge influence. And just as far as, I mean, I love her chameleon aspect and her ability to just be free, and she pushed boundaries. I love that. And to me, it's a really cool thing as an artist to see someone and to have that longevity in her career for so long, to keep it going, and to hats off to her, truly amazing. And then I gotta say, honestly, you know I gotta throw in Stevie Nicks. You gotta throw in Stevie Nicks. And I've definitely found a new appreciation for her with the tribute situation, and learning her moves and taking in her energy, so to speak. She has a vibe about her that is just untouchable. And maybe note wise, it's not so perfect. But she just, this energy where she doesn't, like for mixtape, right? I'm jumping all over the stage. I'm doing handstands and backbends, and I'm putting on this very like acrobatic, energetic show. And then with the Stevie thing, it's like this whole way of just pulling that focus and attention with, yeah, she does her twirls, but for the most part, she's very static on stage. She doesn't, there was no lifting the mic up and walking, or she was very just like in her essence, and and just how can you pull that with just that energy? And that's a really cool thing. And great songwriter for me, like that original component of her lyrics, and she just mind blowing for me. So
Truly amazing. Yeah, and she's an absolute legend. And I also, I've enjoyed her activism over the years, her
yes.
badass lyrics, of course, and just, it's true, her longevity, and what she's contributed to, just pop culture in general. She really. Um, what's next for you? Are you going to write more original music?
I'm always writing original music. Right now, there are lyrics and musical ideas that are trapped in voice memos on my phone and notes on my phone. And when I get a chance, which is rare, I sit at the piano and hammer one out and record it just to get the idea down. And I feel like it comes and goes in phases. So right now, I know I'm in a more outward performance phase of my um, artistic endeavors. But the writing, always, you can't turn it off. And it happens in inopportune moments. I might be driving down the street and I get an idea and I'm like, hit record. Okay, I'll just sing the idea, whatever I can get down to jog my memory when I do have time to go back to it and sit at the piano. And then there's times where I'm just not. I get uninspired with myself writing at the piano. I feel like I'm writing the same stuff. So to bring in other musicians and have like my guitar player friends send me ideas, or hey, I got this. You see definitely more recording coming up. I'm feeling that itch to get back to the original side, or even pull it in, weave it in a cover situation here and there at the bars. Sometimes, people, if they're having a good time and they don't care if you keep them having a good time. They don't care what you play necessarily. So, I could see myself sneaking in an original here and there just to mess with people's heads. And but then I could drift back towards the original thing. I definitely see that. I get bored with covers. There's only so many songs you can cover before you've worn out that. And
That's so true. Well, we would love to know, how can our readers find you? How can they come see your next show?
so I think the easiest way now is social media. Find Facebook, Instagram. I am on TikTok too, but very rarely. I try. I'm terrible with posting things, but I do post the shows for sure. With the bands, Mixtape Band FL, and for True Rumors, it's True Rumors, the definitive Fleetwood Mac tribute. And all the shows will be on Facebook for me, Lindsay Giova. You can find it on Facebook, on Instagram, like I said, on TikTok, on anything. Even, SoundCloud, Spotify. I have things that are out there. They're not always under Lindsay Giova for those platforms necessarily, because as an artist, I've kind of done few different things over the years, and I try to reinvent myself, and I'm like, let me have a new name for this persona. So you kind of have to dig a little bit, but if you're interested, and I post things here and there to tie things back in. So yeah, it's there.